Hey Sean, how's it going?
How do you think I feel?
Uh, yeah. Uh, so uh, Here we are to review Dracula Untold. JT is reborn, and 6921 Awesome. You're reviewing Dracula Untold. So let's start it off. Sean, what did you think of Dracula Untold?
Well, the movie, in all honesty, I actually did enjoy it. I mean, it's more of an action movie than like a straight up like suspenseful horror movie for sure. I enjoyed Luke Evans as Dracula. He was a really badass Dracula. They did make him out to be a little bit more of a hero in this one for sure, which he was viewed as by his people, but the world sees him as a monster, which
Yeah.
wasn't too bad.
One thing I wanted to say was I like the fact that they addressed Dracula as being Vlad the Impaler, but also I like the fact that Dracula is not actually the original vampire. Like there's a vampire before
Caligula.
him, which makes more sense why he's the Prince of Darkness because the other guy is like kind of like the godfather of vampires, I guess, and he
His
just
name is
makes him
Caligula. Caligula
what?
the vampire. That's like he was like what I read. He was Caligula, which is like a Roman emperor who like made a bet with the demon in the movie, and then that cursed him to the cave or whatever. Which,
Yeah,
if he was
I
cursed to
like.
the cave, what I don't get is like how he was able to like get all these like soldiers and that were there. That's the one thing I didn't really get, unless like he telepathically made bats like grab these people and like bring them to the cave. That's one thing I was kind of wondering about. But I thought that guy was kind of creepy. Like the part where
Yeah,
he's like going on the sword and he's just like you see his claws. He's like,
yeah. I mean that. I mean, great performance right there. I gotta say, I really love this movie. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I enjoyed the action. I enjoyed the suspense. Now, one thing I want to point out is they did kind of change like things that happened in history. Like they made Latin Taylor's wife out to be like a saint, where in real life she like bathed in his enemy's blood and stuff. But they didn't show that in the movie.
I
And
didn't
then
know if she did that. It could
yeah,
have been her. Was that her?
yeah, that was actually
Okay, because
his
I know there was
real
someone in
wife.
history who used to do that, like really demented.
Yeah, his real wife actually did that. And Vlad the Impaler used to impale people on stakes, and he would go and he would have a meal, and he would dip his bread in his enemy's blood and just eat it.
Yeah.
They didn't show that in the movie
Well,
either.
it was PG-13, so.
Well, what they were trying to do in this movie was make like Vlad and Taylor out to be the good guy, basically. But I feel like he was like a really horrible person. But one thing they did get right was that Vlad and Taylor was a man that always went to church and he believed in God and he was Christian and all that. They got all of that like right, but they kind of made him out to be a good guy. But there was one scene that I really liked where he was in the cave and he was confronted by the
Caligula.
vampire. Yeah, and he says, "How many people did you kill?" And he says, "He's like hundreds." And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "Don't lie to me, thousands," because Vlad the Impaler killed like 20,000 people and he put them all on stakes and he had like a forest of like dead people, which they did show in the movie, which was cool because it was like a they were showing things that actually happened in history, and Vlad the Impaler was like Bram Stoker's like inspiration. So
Hmm.
it's kind of cool to see, that them actually address Dracula as Vlad the Impaler. That was cool. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And like even the scenes where they're attacking the different castles and everything, that actually did happen. Like they took little things like about the parts of the castle that were attacked, and they even designed the castles to look like just like the real castles from that what the Impaler actually had. So that was cool that they did that. I thought because I had watched his biography, so I was like, okay, that happened and that happened at that castle. So I was like, I was glad they did that. So I
Hmm.
mean, overall, I thought it was a really good movie. But and I understand that they want to make his wife though to be like a saint because they have to make you like the character, right? Because if you don't like the two characters, then you're not going to get into the story. They can show that he's evil, but they have to make you get into like the movie. You know what I mean? So I get why they did that. Also, it doesn't have to be 100% historically accurate, anyways, right? So I mean, I liked the fight scenes. I like how he made like a vampire army. That was really cool, right? I mean, what was your favorite part in the movie? Let's hear
Um,
what you liked about
One
it.
part that made me laugh is that the villain says the line, "Let the games begin," but he says it
Mhm.
twice. And to me, whenever I hear that line, I start laughing because I think of this one movie, where this like character says it, but he says it like hilariously. So like the fact that he said the line twice, you never say the. I've never heard anybody say that line. The same character say it twice in the same movie. But like this is also supposed to be the start of the relaunch of Universal Monsters collections. So hopefully it's successful, and I think it's starting to be, and I think it's been kind of successful already
Yeah.
because I think it cost like 70 million, and they're already made back like the budget or something like that, but they got to make back marketing costs and such.
Do you want to hear my theory of what I think this like crossover is going to be? I have a
Hmm.
little theory.
Because the Mummy is next.
Okay, but my theory is that all the movies after this are going to some way connect to like kind of like an Avenger thing where they're all together, right? But
Yeah,
I
Universal's the first studio to really do that. Hang on one second. Continue your theory.
Okay, and my theory is that um, okay, well here's my theory. I think that it's going to connect to I think it's going to connect to Van Helsing, actually. I think Van Helsing is going to be kind of like the villain, and the monsters are going to be like the good guys.
Like a new adaptation of Van Helsing, because this is the start of the relaunch.
Yeah, so Van Helsing will be like the villain, and he'll be trying to fight like Frankenstein, the mommy, and Dracula, and they'll all be teaming up to fight Van Helsing. That's what I think. And I think that the guy with the cross in the movie is going to be somehow a descendant to Van Helsing. Like he's going to be like his great great grandfather or something. You know what I mean? I think it's going to connect that way because they need the first movie to connect somehow to the next films in the series, right? So,
Hmm.
like, do you think Van Helsing is going to be fighting them and they're going to like team up and fight Van Helsing? Wouldn't
Um,
it be cool if, because that's kind of cool because it's always the good guy versus the monsters. Why can't it be the monsters versus the good guys? You know what I mean?
hmm.
Because they never take that point of perspective, and they're kind of like changing it a little bit, making like the monsters anti-heroes, right?
Yes.
So I mean, what do you think about that? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I'm fine with it. I mean, the monsters were always the heart and soul of the films. If you
Mm-hmm.
look at like the Universal Monsters collection, which I have here, monsters were always the heart and soul of the films. So I'm fine with what they're doing. I mean, I would like a little more like atmospheric horror personally, like the older films. I mean, when you think about it, like Avengers style, the first studio to do that was Universal because they were the ones who started the crossover of their monsters with like Frankenstein meets the Wolfman and such. Um, then like other studios didn't later. The like such as Toho with the Godzilla movies, and I'm not sure who else would
How
like
many like
did that
iconic characters are supposed to be in the crossover? Exactly.
of like this new relaunch.
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna relaunch all their monsters, so we gotta have Dracula, which we have.
Yeah.
Frankenstein, the
The
Mummy is next.
the Wolfman.
The Wolfman will be in there. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
Invisible Man will most likely be there, and then Phantom of the Opera.
Can I guess what I think it's going to be? I think it's going to be Dracula, Wolfman, the Mommy, and Frankenstein.
Yeah, but the Creature from the Black Lagoon is one they've been wanting to remake for a while. And Invisible Man's another one. Well, because they got the Universals. Just go by the box set. Just go who's all on the cover. I mean, you got Dracula, Frankenstein, the Mummy, Invisible Man, Bride of Frankenstein, or the Frankenstein's monster, I should say, to be correct. The Wolfman, which we already had a remake for, but they're gonna reboot it again, most likely. Phantom of the Opera and The Creature. Creature's one I've been wanting to see for a while.
And they're gonna remake. This is gonna be a new remake of like Frankenstein. It's not gonna be like the new Frankenstein that came out that wasn't that good,
No,
right?
no, not that, not that,
Let's just pretend that movie never happened.
not that shitty-looking movie with Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah, so I hope that the new Frankenstein is gonna be top notch. You know what I'm saying? Because Dracula Untold really brought it, to the mainstream. So let's get some like, really great, like horror remakes, and then cross them all over into one big movie. It's gonna be pretty epic. I'm totally there.
Yeah, because as you know, Universal was like my old 30s, 40s, 50s type horror is my favorite type. So I love the monsters
And
universe.
like we've discussed, they've really been lacking in like crossover horror films. Like the last one was like
Freddy
I
versus
can't remember,
Jason,
like Freddy versus
or
Jason.
what was another one? Like Puppet Master versus Demonic Toys, or something like that. Like horror, out of all of them, horror is one that you really think would benefit. You'd think they'd have more versus movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, the characters make money, and then other characters make money. It's like put them together, more money. People
Well,
love
put the
crossovers.
bodies together.
People love crossovers. I mean, just look at The Simpsons Family Guy. A lot of people went nuts to go see that because, like, oh, two shows coming together. Crossovers. Everybody loves crossovers.
Yes, let's get more of that, and I'm excited what Universal is doing with this. So, I mean, I'm giving this movie a 10 out of 10. You're giving it a 8, you said?
Yeah, eight.
All right. So we're gonna all say go see Dracula Untold, and have nothing to add.
Goodbye.